Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to this Monday morning with Business Coach Moloy. And we are on the series of scaling, episode 3. Today we are going to talk about why hustle, which is very, very mandatory at the early stage of a business, stops working at scale. And when you continue to do the hustle, even at a later stage of business, that itself may be limiting your growth. So, over the past two episodes, we have spoken about something that many entrepreneurs experience but often struggle to articulate. We spoke about why growth starts feeling heavy after a point. We then moved on to the founder dependency trap. Today, let's talk about this hustle thing. Now, before everyone misunderstands, let me clarify something. I am not against hard work. In fact, every entrepreneur listening to this session knows that there is no substitute for effort. Businesses are built through effort, relationships are built through effort, trust is built through effort, success is built through effort. So, this is not about a conversation about working less or contributing less or investing less. It's a conversation about understanding that when a business or even a relationship for that matter has reached a stage where effort alone is no longer enough. A few years ago, I was speaking to an entrepreneur who had built a successful business, and this had been there for about 20 years. He was respected, customers trusted him, business was growing, and yet he seemed frustrated. And one day he said that, Molo, I'm working harder today than I was 10 years ago. And that is exactly what worries me. And I asked why, and he replied, because the business is 5 times larger today. If it still needs 5 times more effort from me, then something is wrong. And that statement captures the essence of today's discussion. Think back to when you started. Many entrepreneurs survive because they're willing to do what others won't. They work longer hours, they travel more, they follow up harder, they solve for problems, they wear multiple hats, they make sacrifices. And because of that, the business grows. Many businesses would not have got off the ground without this hustle. So, hustle is not the enemy. In the beginning, hustle is often the hero. The problem begins when entrepreneurs assume that the same approach will continue working indefinitely, because as the business grows, complexity grows, and the complexity does not respond well to hustle. When the business was small, if there was a problem, you could personally solve it. If a customer complained, you could intervene. If an employee struggled, you could coach him. If a process broke, you could fix it. Everything was visible. Everything was manageable. Everything was close enough to touch. But growth changes that. And this is something that many entrepreneurs underestimate. Revenues may double, but complexity triples. More customers, more employees, more suppliers, more locations, more products, more decision, more communications, more and more moving parts. And suddenly the founder discovers something very uncomfortable. And I'll give you my example. Over the past couple of weeks, I realized something was off. And as a coach, I took pride in ensuring that after every meeting within the next 24 to 48 hours, my action plan document would reach the client. But over the past 1 month, I saw that there was a lag, there was a delay. And this was not me, because my business is built on trust. And that made me uncomfortable. We feel busy all the time, but progress seems slower. I'm sure many of you have experienced this. Your calendar is full, the phone never stops, the inbox is overflowing, meetings continue throughout the day, and yet at the end of the week, you feel like most of the energy are responding rather than building. And this is often the first warning step. Activity is increasing, but leverage is not. Let me ask you something very close to your heart, and be honest to yourself, ladies and gentlemen. When was the last time you spent 3 uninterrupted hours thinking about the future of your business, not solving operational issues, not responding to messages, not approving decisions, actually thinking? So while I was making the script, yesterday being a Sunday, my 3 hours really went into building that vision, revisiting that vision. And I realized something very interesting. Saturday evening, when I left office, there was a darkness that things are not moving. But when I really looked at the business model, when I really looked at things, I not only saw a light at the end of the tunnel, but I saw the tunnel was also very, very small. It is that last bit effort, last bit planning, last bit structuring, which will overcome that tunnel. And yesterday I reached out to multiple people during the course of the day. And all those conversations that I had or I wanted to have was aligned to that vision, that tunnel, and the light at the end of the tunnel. So yesterday I was thinking about the next 3 years, the next level of growth, the real risks. Every business has risks. And what are the risk mitigations? What are the new opportunities? What is the leadership development that I need to invest in? Because slowly, hustles consumes the space which is required for strategic thinking, and we need to pull ourselves out of that hustle and get into that strategic thinking. Because that is the difference between builders and maintainers. At a certain stage, entrepreneurs face a choice. They can continue being the hardest working person in the business, or they can become the person who builds the capability inside the business. These are different roles. One creates dependency, the other creates scale. So ask this question of ourselves today. Why do entrepreneurs keep returning to hustle? Because hustle gives immediate results. You make the call, the issue gets resolved, you intervene, the customer is satisfied, you step in, the deadline gets met, the reward is immediate. Systems, on the other hand, are slower. Training takes time. For training, you need to have the competency of the people to be able to train. Sometimes, as entrepreneurs, we are compromising on the competency because we want the lowest cost employee in our system. We are willing to take risks in personal growth. We are willing to take the risk in personal expenses, but we are not willing to take the risk of hiring a well-qualified professional. Because once that happens, entrepreneurs naturally gravitate towards the faster solution. And this faster solution becomes the long-term limitation. The entrepreneurs who struggle most with scaling are not the least capable. They're often the most capable because capable people can compensate for weak systems. For years, sometimes decades, they personally rescue situations, personally maintain relationships, personally solve problems, personally create momentum. And because they are so good at it, the organization never develops the capability it needs. The hero of the business becomes the biggest bottleneck. And this is one of the greatest paradoxes of entrepreneurship. The person who built the business becomes the person limiting its growth, not intentionally, not because they lack talent, but because the business has outgrown the operating model that originally made it successful. Many entrepreneurs still measure productivity by effort, hours worked, meetings attended, problems solved, emails answered, calls made. But scaling requires a different measurement. How many decisions happened without you? How many problems were solved without escalation? How many customers were served consistently without your intervention? How much capability did the organization gain? That is organization productivity. The organization productivity matters more than the personal productivity at scale. In small businesses, heroics create result. In larger businesses, heroics create instability. Because heroics are difficult to replicate, systems are. And scaling is ultimately about creating that predictable outcomes, not heroic outcomes, but predictable outcomes. I understand this seems very, very difficult emotionally because entrepreneurs often derive identity from being needed. Let's be honest about that. For years, being the person who solved problem creates significance. People dependent on you, customers trusted you, employees looked at you, the business moved because of you. But suddenly, scaling requires something very different. It requires building a business that depends on you less and less, that will make you feel uncomfortable. Sometimes it even feels threatening. Imagine a parent. A good parent does not raise children who remain dependent forever. A good parent gradually develops independence. The same principle applies to your organization. Leadership is not measured by how many people need you. Leadership is measured by how many people become capable because of you. And as I close today's session, I want you to reflect on one question. Every time you solve a problem personally, ask yourself, did I solve the problem or did I solve the symptom? Because many entrepreneurs spend years solving symptoms. Scaling begins when you start building solutions that prevent problems from recurring. And this is a transition every entrepreneur should make and has to make. Because eventually, growing entrepreneurs must move from effort to leverage, from activity to capability, from personal excellence to organization excellence, from hustles to system. That does not mean working less, it means creating more impact through the organization rather than through personal effect. Where do we go from here? In the next session, we will discuss the hidden cost of unstructured growth because many businesses are growing financially while becoming operationally weaker. And there is the other side. Many organizations look at becoming operationally stronger but are growing financially weaker because both of them are unstructured. Confusion, inefficiency, and complexity are increasing faster than ever. And if that continues long enough, growth starts creating problems because of opportunities. Today's final thought, the goal of scaling is not to work harder every day. The goal of scaling is to build an organization that becomes stronger every year. And the strength comes not from the founder doing more, strength comes from the business becoming more capable. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Scaling. Till then, have a fantastic week. External environments are tough, but we have a business to run. We have to wake up, we have to get up, and we have to get going. Take care of yourself. I shall see you on the other side next Monday, same place, same time. Till then, God bless.